Welcome to Between the Lines. This is Alan Beauchamp. It is now the new year, 2024, and it's January, let me add it up in my head, 4th, Thursday, January 4th. And we're here with Property Assessor John Alley to talk about different property values, different laws, everything that affects your personal property, meaning your residential property. And we'll be talking about some other things. And we're ready to go. And this is an election year. John recently was elected, and we got to understand this is all 95 counties, the Assessor of the Year, which is a highly distinguished award. And so John knows a lot about this stuff. He's been there for 12 years. He knows the business. He's very respected around this state, and we're going to talk about it because I know a lot of people ask me, you know, our properties have gone way back up. They're going to come way back down. How does this affect my sale price? Obviously, when your home's $200,000 and it goes to $300,000, you're very happy. But at some point, you got to pay for that $300,000. We're going to talk about schedules and different things that are going on. Welcome, John. I've known John a long time.
Welcome, Alan. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the support. I appreciate the public support. I guess I'll get into talking about what the office does and give a brief overview of the entire office,
right,
and where the county's headed and what our values are doing currently.
Sure.
There's been a lot of movement since I got elected in 2012, and that's with real and personal property, commercial, industrial, and all the things that the office does, and the staff and all the new.
Well, let's talk about staff. How many people do you have working for you?
I've got 9 and myself 10.
10 people. Yeah, I think I've been in and out of that office for 30-something years, and I think that it never changed much. You're in the same location.
Actually, I just hired one, so there's 10 in me now.
All right, that's all right.
Yep. Yeah,
we got a lot more to do today. Then one more.
A lot more houses, a lot more development, a lot more
things to manage.
Commercial, industrial activities going on, and all the growth that we have to.
You've had some retirements over the last few years.
Have had some retirements and. Senior people moving on and new companies.
Hiring new people. Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. So, you're the Assessor of the Year. What did that award entail?
Well, it came from the Tennessee Association of Assessing Officers, the peers, the assessors across the state voted. That's in the Assessors Association voted, and they do that every year. And mine was I was elected that in 22. It's just being active with the organization and effort you put forward for your citizens in your county. We do a lot to protect. We look over legislation that's coming, how that's going to affect the taxpayers, because a lot of things are said about assessors that we tax people, and that's all we do.
Yeah.
We put a value on there to be taxed, but in actuality, we do a lot to protect the taxpayers from different laws that come in would adversely affect our taxpayers, and we actually protect them.
Well, you've said it many times, John. You work for the people.
You
don't work for corporations and other things.
I don't work for.
How many residential homes, roughly?
Well, you're right. I work for the people of Anderson County. We've got roughly 44,000.
How many do we have in 2012, roughly?
I would say 38.
So we've grown about 20%.
I'd have to look. All the numbers aren't in from 2023 yet to finalize it. That's why I didn't bring it with me today.
A lot of growth in the Andersonville area.
A lot of growth in countywide, but in particular in that area, yes.
That's big. And you're home, so you're from there. You're from the north.
We've got a lot of growth in Oak Ridge too. You got over on the summit, and you've got
a lot of Roane County growth. I know that.
You got a lot in Roane County because a lot of available land there.
Preserve and everything.
Out of Solway, there's a lot of big growth been going on there as well.
In Anderson part of Solway. Mm-hmm. Yes. Where does the line cross, on the bridge?
Right there at the bridge, yes.
So everything on this side of the bridge is you. Mm-hmm. Everything on this side of the bridge is Knox County.
Knox County, yes. And then as you come in, you get into the city of Oak Ridge and DOE property. There's a lot of DOE property in that area.
And do you have any, I mean, obviously, federal government's exempt from taxes. So basically, but you still have different situations where you interact with them, right?
Yeah, I have to value what property they have. We got roughly 11,000 acres of DOE property in Anderson County, and I believe there's 22 in Roane. But we come up with a value to give the mayors and the county commissions to go over, and they work out with DOE what the in lieu of payment for DOE is for the county.
Based on your assessments?
Based on what value we agree upon with the DOE.
And with your who at DOE would make that negotiation?
That'd be the mayor, more the mayor and the county, I think.
But I mean on their side. On
their side, I'm not sure.
Some person out of D.C. that does
the high administrator, yes.
They've got a ratio per acre and all that stuff.
Yeah, and that's through Los Alamos and all their other areas. They do
We used to
they
complain
balance
all
that
the
out.
time 20 years ago that, well, I say, I almost got more money per acre than we did. We didn't like that. I remember that a long time ago.
Yeah.
But I think, you know what, I'm in the business, I'm in the energy business, but Hanford, some of those areas have had a tough time with contaminated land and large reservations and different things, and it's harder to assess, et cetera, in that sense. 44,000 residential homes, wow. That's incredible. That's incredible. How many, what would you say, Andersonville, Fairview area? That's huge up there.
Yeah, well, you've got, in that though, that was accounts, because, I mean, I've probably got 3,000 personal property accounts, so you're looking at probably 42,000
Let's define that. For
residences.
the average homeowner, we're going to define what a personal property is. If I run an accounting business, or if I run some kind of, any kind of business, and I have a printer, and I have some kind of fancy machine in the back, and all of that stuff's considered personal property.
Anything you use to run your business is considered personal property in the state of Tennessee, and there's
Right.
TCA codes that cover all that, and I have to, through my office, have to administer that.
But that doesn't count if I have a computer in my home.
No,
Just if I'm generating profit.
Yeah,
Do nonprofits pay?
It's called business personal property.
That's right.
Right.
Do nonprofits have to pay?
No.
So
No,
United Way has one.
Well,
don't
if they
pay.
apply for exemption through the state of Tennessee,
Yeah,
the State
yeah.
Board of,
Right.
State Board of Equalization has to approve that. That don't come through me. Businesses or organizations make application through the state board, and then the state board will inform me it's exempt or not. They take that out of the hands of the assessor.
So you have 10 employees in yourself. What are some of the things they do?
Well, on a daily basis, we answer phones,
Right.
wait on the counter, wait on our public. That's the most important. Deal with, we work with the trustee's office and with the register of deeds office primarily, and we work really well together.
Y'all
Yeah,
three right there together?
We're right together. We need to be. We take the deeds from the, Tim Shelton, the Register of Deeds, and Regina Copeland, the trustee. They're always changing addresses or checking values through our office to make sure, everything's accurate. And we pick up the deeds every day, and we work the deeds. I got an employee that works the deeds, put the new owner's name on, and then from there, it goes into my mapping department, and say somebody had 10 acres and they sell off an acre or 2 acres, we'll map that survey, if there is one, or the coordinates into the map to make sure that we're accurate on what we're valuing that, say, 2 acres. And, it depends on where it is and what what the condition of the property is. And then we have a person that keys all that. That's got to be put on a property record card, so at the end of the year, it will download into the trustees' website, into their computer system with the state, so everybody gets the proper tax bill for the proper parcel. Also, we've got one lady that works tangible personal property. That's her primary job. She works intertwines with the auditors and with all the business across Anderson County on a daily basis.
How many personal property business type accounts do we have in Anderson County?
About 3,100, I think, is the last.
So 3,100 different businesses have paid or filed personal property taxes
Right.
each year.
Yeah, and they self-report. The audit program is just,
Yeah, they do
the
self-report.
state has us do a spot check throughout the year, and we have to do, per state guidelines, we have to do so many a year. And we've also got a field team that's out. I got one that goes and picks up new construction, mobile home parks, things of that nature, rentals, apartment complexes, and the other crew of 2 guys, they're out in the county every day, weather permitting. They're out checking each property record card per a schedule that's in a reappraisal program that's given to the state. And
So they take that property record card and they go out to a business?
They'll go primarily to residential
Okay. And
properties.
what are they checking?
And they're checking to make sure that card's accurate, and we don't go inside unless, if someone requests it, they can call my office and I'll arrange to come in, like if there's a cracked foundation or something of that nature.
Something lower their value.
We're outside measuring outside dimensions, looking at overall condition for tax purposes, for mass appraisal.
Right.
It's not like a fee appraiser from a bank that comes in and measures every room.
Yeah.
We just do a base valuation for tax purposes.
Would you call that random, or would you call that widespread, or what would you say?
No, it's, we have to be on every, one of those 42,000 residential parcels, we're supposed to be on every one of those parcels within a 4-year period, because we do 4 years of gathering data, and on the 5th year, we compile all that data for the reappraisal, which is bringing everything up to market value at that time. If I pick up a new home today, it's based on 2020 values.
Okay.
And that's what it's appraised at. It's so much a square foot. But that will get reappraised in 2025, and then the state will set new base rates per sales. The sales determine what the new base rate is.
That makes sense. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
And so I don't chase a sale. If I've got 500,000 on your house and it sells for 600, it will stay at that unless there's some type of error in the card, like we missed a garage or a swimming pool, or it was built after we, did our reappraisal. We'll do some corrections, but we can't chase the sale and just put 600 on it automatically.
What type of programs or projects do you intertwine with other counties? The property assessors work together. Do you have any of that kind of stuff?
Not so much.
Training, maybe?
Well, yeah, the Division of Property Assessments, the DPA, they give classes all year long, and there's a schedule, probably 10 to 20, 15 classes you can take a year, and I encourage my employees to go to, be more informed. Right. It's assessment law, fundamentals of reappraisal, and then they'll go over all the aspects of measuring homes and how they want us to, to put them into the system.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And is some of that mandatory required training?
It's all, well, no, none of the training's required, but they'll audit. I get audited probably 40 or 50 times a year on every aspect of everything I do.
Yeah, I understand.
There's, everything's above board. And
30 years ago, and I can remember being with Vernon and stuff, and across the hall and dealing with other people, and Patsy and people, and everything was kind of manual. We all had so much of this to do, and I didn't work there, but it just evaluating some of the things they were doing in the county. Is everything pretty much electronic now?
Yeah, well, it's for most counties it is. There are still some counties that I go into their, and I feel bad because you go into their office and they're still tracing maps on a window. But we got the GIS system. We were the first county in the state to go in with the, it's called, Global Information, Geographic Information Systems, and the CAMA, Computer-Aided Mass Appraisal. All those systems work together, and yeah, it's changed. It's changed dramatically in the last 30 years, and it's even changed in the last 10 years since I've been there. Wow. We were the first 20 years ago, or 22 or 3, and now we need to upgrade our systems as well. There's oblique imagery where they'll take 45-degree angles. The cameras are so much better now. Everything's so much more clear.
We're going to take a 2-minute break, 3-minute break, and we'll be right back to talk more. Thank you.
Daniel Forrester has been trusted by Anderson County families for nearly 2 decades. Daniel has appeared in Anderson County Chancery, Circuit, Sessions, and Juvenile Court thousands of times over the past decade. A Rule 31 mediator, Daniel has been trusted to mediate hundreds of cases across Anderson County. A community leader, Daniel has worked closely with local officials to make Anderson County a better place. A conservative and dedicated husband and father, Daniel's faith has shaped his character and integrity. On March 5th, vote Daniel Forrester for Anderson County Chancellor.
From Oak Ridge, Tennessee, IB3 Global Solutions conducts operations around the world to enhance the U.S. national security posture and minimize radiological and nuclear threats. IB3 Global Solutions. Mission first.
Fan Gear Barn is Oak Ridge's source for new and vintage sports fan gear from around the world of sports. Find your favorite team gear at Fan Gear Barn, located at 977 Oak Ridge Turnpike, across from the hospital. Open 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., 6 days a week. Closed on Sundays.
At Navarro, we partner with our clients to advance clean energy and deliver effective solutions for complex challenges in the nuclear and environmental fields.
When should you get tested for COVID-19? You have symptoms of COVID-19, such as runny nose, congestion, sore throat, fever, cough, shortness of breath, muscle pain, headache, chills, or loss of taste or smell. Current testing recommendations say everyone should get tested immediately if they have symptoms of COVID-19. If you have symptoms, be sure to follow recommendations about how long to stay home and away from others. For more information, visit our If You Are Sick or Test Positive webpage.
All right, crew, let's get started. Sure.
Don't ignore the law. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 days before any digging project so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811.
We've caught up on the technical side of it. Our good friend and main sponsor, Daniel Forrester for Chancellor, is now on the tube. And we're very appreciative of all his support and all the others, especially Navarro and many of the science community people have been behind us, Oak Ridge Utility District. It's been a long year, and we've had a lot of great support. And IB3 Global Solutions, which is headed and run by City Councilman Sean Gleason, one of our, I'll tell you, it's one of the sharpest guys that have come through our community in decades. He is outstanding young man, about 46 years old, and he's the president of that, and we just think the world of him. But we appreciate the sponsorships and helping us get the word out. COVID affected everybody in government from top to bottom. I thought we overreacted a little, but we did do the right things, and I'm not a doctor, so I just take my place and go. But county government was a little bit affected, and we made some changes here and there. Did it change? Did it have any much impact on your people getting out and doing appraisals or assessments, or people coming to the office? Did you have to change anything?
Well, we did some basic changes early, especially early on. We had the glass at the front windows, and had them. Everybody that wanted to wore masks. We were careful in the public to not stay away from the as public as much as possible. Stay back off the porch or whatever. That in turn caused the interior. We had a lot more.
Well, you don't go inside anyway, so it didn't. That's right.
Them?
You don't go inside.
No, we didn't go in. We didn't go inside anyway.
That's right.
Normally, but
contact.
On the walk-ups, we had a lot of people would come by, but not as much. We had a lot. The phone calls picked up was our biggest challenge, and we had an HR department that monitored it for the whole county, so it worked out rather well.
Well, that's good. I mean, there's a lot of discussion about a lot of things about that. Let's talk about. Go ahead, talk to us a little bit about what we were talking about there on the break. Some of the things that.
Well, I guess some of I guess primarily to back up and go over what we do. The first thing we do is our field workers. We go out and discover property. Not everybody gets a building permit, or if they do have a permit, we've got a record of it.
Define discover. Define discover.
Discover is just going out and just finding it. Just finding, a house, a barn, a pool, a garage. That's things that we need to put on.
That aren't on the list?
That aren't on the property card that we add to the card. And
you mean people actually do that and don't report that?
I don't lean on it too bad. We just pick it up from the day we find it and go from there.
That's all you can do.
And there's not so much of that as much as just we make sure, like if somebody removes something from their property, that it's taken off, because I don't want it to, if somebody be paying taxes on something that's no longer there, or if a structure burns, then that needs to be taken off. And if they don't let us know, or I have tied in with all the fire departments now, but where I get a fire report, so I can remove that from their car, because it's not good to be taxing on something that no longer exists. But anyway, we discover it and then list it. You have to list it as like if it's personal property, if it's real property, and because personal is going to be at 30, assessed at 30%, residential's 25, commercial's at 40. So we do all that, and then finally we'll put a value on that property. That turns into where I was talking about earlier. It gets mapped into the card, the deeds get worked, and then we go into a reappraisal. But that's going to be in 2025. Will be Anderson County's next one.
So we had a reappraisal in 2020, folks. We're going to have another one on a 5-year cycle in 2025. So with all the ups and downs in real estate in the last 2 or 3 years, how will that affect? How will people be affected? Take an average home in Clinton of $250,000 that's gone up.
Well, say if it's a $200,000 home, as if it were done today, and don't hold me to this, because the numbers are ever changing every day.
We're not there yet.
But one of the local counties, I think it was Blount, just went up 70 or 71% last year.
Across the board.
Knoxville went up 41%, and that's overall. That's not an average. Some properties, say on the lake, may go up 65, 70%. Some may just go up 40. Depends on the area, how the sales are, and that's what it's based on. But so if the value of a $200,000 house in 2025, if we stay around 50%, that house would go to $300,000. That don't mean you're going to pay 50% more taxes. That's just saying the value of your home, and that's what we're tasked with doing, is value in the county. So if overall the value of the county goes up 50%, the state will. We cannot make any more money, the county can't, on a reappraisal year than they did the year before. It's illegal. So the county commission or your city councils would have to have a referendum to exceed what the state would, the state will recommend a certified tax rate. Today in the county, it's 262.
So let's explain that to folks in a simple way.
Right. It's,
I
well,
have
it's
a
hard to explain.
$200,000 home.
It's hard to make it really simple, but yeah, I'll do the best I can.
Well, so I can do it. $200,000 home. You go out and look at it, appraise it based on state stuff, and you say that home is now worth, hypothetically, $260,000, went up 30%. But the state average from the state, this is not John, but from the state coming here and looking at everything, they're going to come up with an average number of, say, 50%.
Well, they're going to come up with a new certified tax rate that will equal out to where the county will bring in the same amount of money.
So if you went up $40,000 on your home, your taxes will actually go down a little. If you're
40%.
That's right. Would be 10% under, you'd have a 10% adjustment. To
Right,
the
that's
state.
why I go in an even number. So if you got a $200,000 home and on the reappraisal year it goes to $300,000, $100,000 increase, that's 50%. If your certified rate goes down 50%, and that's roughly what the state, it's 262 now, so 262, the
Sure.
131 would be the 50%.
Yeah.
If the state suggests that, the county commission or the city councils adopt that,
Right.
or the whatever rate they're at, then you're going to pay just pennies the same if there happens
So
to be.
if my county tax rate, folks, is at $1,200 a year on my home, and my home goes up, and they readjust it from the 260 to the 130, and they play with all those numbers, and when it's all said and done, in the 2025 year, I'm still going to pay $1,000.
On your house.
Yes.
But if there's someone there that their house went up 70% in that area they're in, say lakefront or.
Right.
Just depends on where it is.
They would pay the 20% difference.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
exactly right.
that's
Theirs
good.
would go, instead of paying
$200.
$1,000, they're going to pay $1,200.
That's correct.
If they're paying $2,000,
That's
they'll pay
correct.
$24.
That's correct.
If they pay 40 though, if
Could go down 10.
if it goes to 40% increase instead of 50, you're right, you'd pay 900.
Or that's right, exactly. So basically, you're working against not the overall increase, you're working against the mean that the
Yeah,
state's
because there is
come up
no
with.
average. See, there is no average.
that's
All the properties across the county are all over the place as far as.
So you need
same
three
thing with
numbers,
land.
folks. You need three numbers. You need to know what the state's number is, what that 50% is, or 40, or 70 in Blunt, or 50 in Knox. You need to get that number, which will establish an increase. Then you need to figure out what John's office, through the state's work, has assessed your house at. So you get 2 percentage numbers, and then the third number you need is what you're paying now in taxes. So if your number is about the same as the state estimated average of 50%, you won't change.
Well, it won't affect us with the state as much as it does with what's actually going on in Anderson County.
Okay.
Yeah, ours is going to be based on Anderson's numbers. I just said Blunt and Knox, just give a general idea of where it's going.
But did Blunt and Knox, my point is, if you come up with Anderson, you say the overall average across the entire county is going to be 50%.
Well, there's not an average, but it's overall growth of the county is 50% of what it
Okay.
is today.
Got it.
Of what it's worth at the new sales
got it.
values.
All right.
The new sales values, and that's what it's based on. So therefore, they would recommend a 50% drop in the certified tax rate.
Right, which
And the
makes
county
everybody
don't-
break even.
It makes everybody break even. If the county commission wants to exceed that rate, that's called exceeding the certified
They
rate.
gotta raise taxes.
They have to have a tax rate. They have to have a special referendum and a vote, and that's when people can go express their concerns.
At the ballot box. So they cannot raise
Well, no,
your-
you can come to the county commission meetings or whatever you need to do to
But they got to have a referendum at the ballot box.
to exceed the certified rate.
To exceed.
Yep, and
Excuse me. God
so,
bless.
so in essence, the certified rate, if I go up on, and I don't know, it might be 40%, it might be 55.
I understand.
But say if it's, I'm just doing this for
Well, it's 2
round
years in the
numbers.
future. We don't know.
Right, I don't know what might happen if, the rates, things have slowed down. The numbers of homes that are sold have dropped, 65, 70%.
Yep.
In the last, what was going on a year and a half, 2 years ago. We used to do 30, 35 deeds
So
a
as real
day.
estate
We're doing
agents
5,
aren't
6.
making that big money today, are
It's
they?
not coming in as fast, but the hard numbers are still holding up, the 50, 40, 30, 50, 60% over.
That's because you sell your house and you're excited. But if you're not moving into an apartment or a senior home or something, you got to go out and buy something else, and that's where you get licked back at you, right?
Well, and even when you go to buy something else, all that's why the things are selling. So the demand's up and the numbers are up on all the new homes too.
You take
And rent rates up.
the Main Street lofts down here that Rick Chin and his partners have built. They're just going all the way they're going off the charts. I mean, they fill up everything they build. There's demand in there.
The demand's there, and that's what drives the numbers.
Yeah.
And that's what we're tasked with doing is coming up with, fair and equitable numbers that represent that. One thing, though, you were talking about, they need to look up their numbers. We will send an assessment change notice out May of any year, every year, but especially on the reappraisal year. Everybody will get, because everybody's numbers are going to change.
Generally, they go out about
If
May.
your value goes up or down,
You'll
get an assessment change notice in the month of May.
That's excellent.
And that will tell you what your property's done. And if you see that it's gone up, overall the county went up 50%, and yours happens to go up 47, you'll pay 3% less. If it goes up 55, you'll pay 5% more.
After the adjusted rate.
After the adjusted, if the county or the city councils adopt that certified rate that's recommended by the state. Because like I said again, it's illegal. You cannot make more money in a appraisal year than you did the year before.
Outstanding.
That keeps everybody honest, and that way the taxes can't get raised, but just what I do by going out and the value in the market's moving and the county's going up in overall value. You cannot use that to gain monetary.
And let me give it to you in a simple way. You have 10 jars of honey on the table, and there's a certain value in those 10 jars. If you now have 20 jars, you shouldn't have to tax as much, so you tax half as much on the reappraisal with those 20 jars, and you're paying the same.
Your
rate.
Income's the same.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Well put.
Now,
all right, go ahead. You want to say one more thing?
No,
go ahead.
That was a good analogy. I mean, if you want to stay at the same amount you were, if you need to exceed it for whatever reason, then they can, county commissioner, city council can have a referendum.
Well, if the average
exceed
family's
that.
got 20 jars and you got 28 jars, you should pay taxes on the 8 jars, not on 28.
Right.
That's the way it goes.
And it depends on the value of a penny. If you got a project, the county or the cities need a project, a penny, I think last year was $165,000. So,
Well, I'm in Oak Ridge, but
you pay both.
Yeah, but my home values have gone up. There's no question. Not as much in the last year. You're right, but it went up so much in the previous 2 years that it was.
Well, then we capture that on the fifth year on the reappraisal year.
That's right.
So it was set there during those 5 years.
And people need to understand that the cost of running government and the cost of doing things have gone up exponentially too.
Right.
So a greater tax base.
Well, some people said, why don't I put it at full market value, say at the 2-year mark instead of waiting on the 5-year reappraisal? If I move it to the full value after 2 or 2.5 years, then the state would have to step in and say, well, you can't do that without having a new certified rate. I cannot pick that up on the 2 or 2.5 year, or even the 3-year mark. It's not like we're losing money. It's you would have to have a referendum to exceed that certified rate again.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Let's go to break, channel. Give us a couple, 3 minutes, and we'll be back to finish up here in the last segment with John Alley.
Daniel Forrester has been trusted by Anderson County families for nearly 2 decades. Daniel has appeared in Anderson County Chancery, Circuit, Sessions, and Juvenile Court thousands of times over the past decade. A Rule 31 mediator, Daniel has been trusted to mediate hundreds of cases across Anderson County. A community leader, Daniel has worked closely with local officials to make Anderson County a better place. A conservative and dedicated husband and father, Daniel's faith has shaped his character and integrity. On March 5th, vote Daniel Forrester for Anderson County Chancellor.
We should never lose sight of our health. To keep moving forward, let's not forget everything we've learned. Limit the salty food options. Make your own daily exercise routine. And always receive regular checkups. More than anything, we have learned how important these small steps can make a big difference, so we can all continue to move forward together.
All right, crew, let's get started. All right.
Don't ignore the law. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811.
From Oak Ridge, Tennessee, IB3 Global Solutions conducts operations around the world to enhance the U.S. national security posture and minimize radiological and nuclear threats. IB3 Global Solutions. Mission first.
At Navarro, we partner with our clients to advance clean energy and deliver effective solutions for complex challenges in the nuclear and environmental fields.
Fan Gear Barn is Oak Ridge's source for new and vintage sports fan gear from around the world of sports. Find your favorite team gear at Fan Gear Barn, located at 977 Oak Ridge Turnpike, across from the hospital. Open 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., 6 days a week. Closed on Sundays.
Welcome back. Between the Lines, January the 4th, Thursday, we're rolling. The year is off and running, and we're here with Property Assessor, Anderson County Property Assessor, John Alley, who's been in there for 12 years and was in 2022 recognized statewide over Memphis, Nashville, Chattanooga, everywhere, as the Assessor of the Year, and he's provided that leadership, and we hear good things about him all across the state. But there are some things that a property assessor doesn't do that the people think they do. John, elaborate a little bit on that.
Yeah, I can address that, but appreciate those comments. But
Very welcome.
First thing we don't do is we don't set the tax rate. That's done by your legislative bodies, county
commissioners,
and city council. And
that's right.
We do not send out tax bills. That goes to the trustee's office, Regina Copeland. They take all the data that we have and the values, download it into their system each year, and that's how they know where to send it, because we put the address on from the deeds and the value, and they take that. They get the certified tax rates from the state, and that'll tell them what to send the bills. And we do not
John gets
collect
the information, and then Regina sends you a bill.
Right.
That's what we got to go with.
She sends,
That's her job.
and then she collects it, and she collects the bills. We don't do any of that. Primarily what we do is discover property, list it, classify it, and then put a value on it for tax purposes, for property tax purposes.
I guess it originates with the register of deeds. They register the deeds and get them in the system. Then they go to you for assessment on those properties.
Well, we just go to their office and collect the deeds every morning, and we'll get the deeds that were recorded the day before, and we work those deeds
Into the system.
And
But every
property
you have originated there at one point.
if they record their deed. I mean, most.
Do you assess properties that are not recorded?
If somebody brought me one, I would. I would have to, but I don't know. I've only seen one or two that's not ever recorded, and it usually turns into an issue.
Tim does a good job.
He does. Yeah,
Gina does that.
It's a really good.
Together really well.
You've got a really good working team with all three offices, and all do an excellent job.
Second floor facing the Oak Ridge side of the courthouse, or the whatever you want to call it. I guess that'd be the south side, yeah.
West side, yeah.
West side. I'll go with Charles Severs Boulevard. Everything's either north or south.
Right.
South Main Street, going that way, right?
Yeah,
All
right.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's just the things that we don't do. We don't collect taxes, and we don't set the tax rate. But if you got a value issue or a value concern, then that's what my office primarily deals with: addresses and the overall value of your land. We do land and homes, and all commercial, industrial in the county, all mineral interests. We work with the trustee's office as well on the tax freeze, tax relief program. Keep that, in our system, and the values recorded.
So basically, we know the value. So there are percentage discounts available for senior citizens on their
seniors.
property.
Yeah, and you'd have to apply through Regina's office.
Is it based on income, or is it just
age and income? And I don't ever tell all the details of it, because that's kind of in their wheelhouse.
That's their work. That's okay.
I let them do it, but we map it in.
But if you're a senior living on fixed income and you pay property taxes, you're entitled to a discount.
Yeah, it'd be wise to check into that.
Wise to check into it. Good way to put it. Just go by the trustee's office. I would like to see a long line there tomorrow. I'd take full advantage of that if I fell into the. February's when they collect. The deadline's like February something.
Right.
I missed it a few times. I had to run down there in March, pay penalty.
Yeah, you pay penalty and interest. But we also, we administer the Greenbelt program. That's, for anything.
That's a good program.
Over 15 acres, there's forest, and then there's agriculture. There's two different programs, and then there's an open space. It's more on conservation. But those are reduced tax rates for the Greenbelt program, and that was established in 1976 to kind of preserve the open lands of the county and actually across the whole state of Tennessee.
We have a lot of greenbelt in Oak Ridge. I mean, I go around my circle, and there's a greenbelt going right down the hill towards Homer Springs.
Right, and it's a really good
But you're in charge
tax
of that, huh?
incentive break. We're in charge of approving those Greenbelt programs and administering it.
And greenbelt's exempt from taxes, right?
No, it's not exempt, but it is a big reduction.
Who owns the greenbelts?
Well, it's you got farmers, you got foresters, you've got people if they've got 18 acres and they want to leave their forest put it in a
Greenbelt. Is that rezoned?
Greenbelt forest, they can do that. It's they have to get a state forester or fill out a forest
But
plan.
they can still own that?
Oh, yeah, you can own it. That's not a conservation, it's just a forest, program. There's two primary programs in the county. That's Greenbelt Forest and Greenbelt Agriculture. Agriculture, you have to say that, or attest that you're making over $1,500 a year during agriculture or farm products, and that gets you on the Greenbelt Agriculture. On Greenbelt Forest, you can either clear cut it and regrow, or you can just let it grow for natural leave it in its natural state as just to preserve it.
Right. In the old days, if I'm not mistaken, Oak Ridge did their own property assessments 20 years ago.
25, I think so, yes, 23,
Yeah, well,
25.
I may have this name wrong. Rick Morrow, does that sound right?
No, it was, I think it was done under Joe Galloway. He was
Joe,
one-
I knew Joe well.
He was contracted to do
But
it.
Rick was at the city of Oak Ridge before Rick was contracted. I think Rick and Vernon. Rick had the home right there, and may still have it.
Yeah, Clinton,
Yeah, in Clinton. But he was very knowledgeable, him and Vernon. I mean, I can remember when we all used to sit down, have a cup of coffee and talk. So they were really knowledgeable. But now, none of these municipalities do their own taxes. They all go by whatever.
We work
All right,
I've got
I
5
got it.
cities. We just do all the unincorporated county and 5 cities. You've got Rocky Top, Norris, Oliver Springs, Clinton, and Oak Ridge.
Yeah.
And we do all the.
And they just base their taxes off your assessments, not their assessments.
off our assessments, their tax rates. And we handle all the appeals too that come in for
those areas.
commercial, industrial, and for the residential appeals.
They pay you a fee?
Well, there's a cost share program now. The state's reworking that right now and looking in because it's.
You got to get paid, John.
The cost is getting a lot more than what it used to be. Don't
let them work you.
It's just like everything else.
The cities are always begging, you know that.
I do all I can for them, and
yeah, you do.
And I do, same for the, as city taxpayers, I do the county. I'm tasked with.
Do you have any
doing it
other
all.
shared programs with the city of Clinton that you don't with other areas?
No, they're all everybody's treated the same.
I figure because you're so close there, you might have some.
No, they're all. They do have They have a low tax rate, and I attribute a lot of that to there's 3 industrial parks in that city.
I attribute it to the fact that the county pays too many bills for the city of Clinton, but that's me.
Well, that's.
And I like those guys.
That's
a
when
lot.
you and county
Scott Burton
commission-
does a great job. And I'm not. It's not my side of the family. I mean,
Yeah, I can't tell.
I'm out.
I just list the money and discover it for them.
I'm from the day when the strip annexed and we fought like heck to try to prevent that.
Whatever they do with the money when they get, it's out of my hands. But I try to bring in.
I'm just being funny.
I
I'm just trying to be a little bit funny. But that's.
Oh,
all
I
right.
know.
I mean, I've got. When you've been 40 years in this stuff, you hear a lot of stuff.
You're
Long time.
You're
Long time.
experienced.
I'm an
Yes,
old
sir.
man now. You're trying to catch up with me, but you're still young.
Yeah.
That's where we're at. Other programs available through the property assessor office? Anything that we need to know about?
Well, you can apply for tax exemption. A lot of religious institutions apply for that. Some nonprofits, there's guidelines that the state goes by. I've got forms and information in my office or on my website.
Well, let's take 2 large churches. Second Baptist Church in Clinton, St. Mary's Church in Oak Ridge. It's been there 50, 100 years. They would be exempt, right?
If they've applied for exemption
Yeah, if
and
they've
approved,
applied.
yes, then
They would be there.
yes. Now, there's a lot of churches got like bookstores or coffee shops inside. Now some of your
That's
bigger,
different, yeah.
that's different.
They
That's
gotta
like
pay
having a
sale.
small. They have to pay a small
Personal property tax.
We'd break that out and put that at 40%, like
Yeah,
it's a
not
coffee
bad.
store or bookstore.
Yeah, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, and like the parsonages and some of the other buildings around the church would, if they're in use, they would be considered exempt more than not, if the rest
More
of the
than
church
likely.
is. Now, if they buy larger tracts of land that surround them, then that's usually not.
That's right, unless it's used. I think there's a percentage that has to be involved in that.
Right. Like if you've got 8 acres and then you buy another 100 or somebody gives it to the church that adjoins it, more than likely they would pay taxes on it. If it's farmland, they could put it in the Greenbelt program. If they're baling hay or running, somebody's got it leased to run cattle, all that could be considered. Anything agriculture, dealing with agriculture, I'll accept as.
You know a lot about that. You out there in that country, you're out in that part of the world where it really mattered. And you served on county commission before you were.
Right, you had almost 3 years on county commission after my dad passed. And,
Yeah. I
that's
served on a
actually
couple
how,
committees with your dad. I really liked your dad.
that's how I wound up actually getting into politics. And when he was sick, I took this commission
I remember
seat,
the appointment, yeah.
And then
It's like,
Mr.
oh.
Long wanted to retire, and so I was coerced into running.
Coerced is a little strong, but I remember those days.
Yes.
That's what we're doing. That's
Yeah.
where we're at. So,
But I like it. I really I appreciate it. I'm just
you become
tickled to
one of
death
the-
to be here working for the people of the county, and I enjoy it, and I hope everybody.
tell me what the biggest challenges are, the things that you get up every morning and say, we're going to have to do a better job, or we're going to have to get this law changed, or we're going to have to get out here.
Well, the law's changed. I've been on the legislative, and that's probably why you were talking about Assessor of the Year. I've been on that ever since I got elected. This first year, I got real active in the association and watching the laws, because that drives a lot of what happens.
Sure.
And that I wanted to protect my taxpayers as much as I could.
Sure.
So being on that legislative committee, I see something fishy coming through or something that shouldn't pass that's going to hurt the taxpayer, then I'm all about getting that straightened out, fixed, or getting it, taken off the agenda.
We were talked earlier, and we won't go into specifics, but historically, there are hundreds of people that have appealed for their property tax to be reduced, or go to the Board of Equalization, which is your appeal source, and do that. But those numbers have been dramatically reduced in the last years. You've tried to intervene and work
Well,
things out.
I try to get out in front of everything and, let the public be knowledgeable about the process. And Alan was talking about the Board of Equalization. When you get your assessment change notice in May, if you don't agree with that value, and it's the value, it's not about the taxes. If you don't agree with the value of your home, because that's what we do, or your business, then you can come into the Board of Equalization. It's a board of local people around the county.
Sure.
Oak Ridge has a representative because they're a population of over 10,000. They elect their representative, and we've got 4 and sometimes 5 others that sit on that board. And you can come in, and I encourage anybody and everybody. Of course, you can call first. We've got, informal appeals, and maybe there's an error we've made or something that's not right in the paperwork. But once we look through that, if there's nothing we can do, I highly encourage you to come in to the Board of Equalization, and they can override what I do. And by all
Right.
means, I don't mind it at all. I actually encourage anybody that thinks that we weren't able to change it or we didn't lower it enough. Once in 500, somebody or once in 300, they'll want it raised.
Right.
But most of the times, they request a reduction, and then you come to the board, and then they can override what I've done and give me their reasons, and I accept that. If you do not agree with even what the board does, even if they've not lowered it enough, or if they didn't change it at all, they had no change it, then you can appeal on to the State Board of Equalization and on to a Chancery Court, and there's 4 different steps that you can go to appeal that value. But residential, I usually work well with people and show them the numbers.
Well, you
of
may
the
not
sales.
know they have a big hole in the floor or something's happened.
Right, and that's when we can go in if they want us to. If not, then
Yeah.
they can give engineering reports or,
Right.
appraisal letters. That, a current appraisal works really well. Nothing really supposed to come in over a year old, but something that's a current appraisal of your property by a fee appraiser, we'll look at that. I mean, I've had one person bought in 6 foreclosures. That's not really indicative of the market, but if there had been 1 or 2 on there, I could use those numbers. But but I'm happy to help anybody, and my staff is friendly, and
Yes,
they are open to anybody coming. Call first, to save you a trip, and maybe we can work through it. A lot of times we do. If not, come in and just call, make an appointment. We'll put you on, and you can select one of 3 or 4 or 5 days. for
What is
an
that
appeal.
direct office number? 457?
6225.
6225. 457-6225 gets you to the office.
Yeah, and you can email them. John.alley@cot.tn.gov, or best way is just to call in, and we can put you on the schedule and then get you set up for an appointment to come to the board, because I'd rather everybody be happy or more satisfied with their value.
Or understand why it is what it is.
At least you'll understand, because I can't
That's
put it where everybody.
457-6225.
I can't put it where everybody wants it, but if they've got legitimate reasons, and you can bring pictures, we got a list of things that you can do. Like I said, a recent appraisal of your property from a fee appraiser, if you've just refinanced and had it, or if you just bought the home, perhaps. Any of those reasons, but pictures showing adverse conditions, then we'll take that into consideration. We'll come out and look at it again. We're not perfect. Occasionally we miss something.
Well, you're doing the outsides in these general sweeps. You don't know what's going on inside.
Right. And, some people, like, we don't look at the landscaping. Currently fencing, we don't pick up, because we had a lot of ag fencing in Anderson County, and that's driveways we don't, but.
How much time we got left, Chandler? 16. Wow, we started later on the day. Okay. So I want to ask you a question about some commercial properties that Oak Ridgers and Anderson County people talk about all the time. And I want you to say as much as you can. But if I tell you there's one property in Oak Ridge that I hear about 50% of the time and all the rest 50%, what do you think that one property I hear about, commercial properties I hear about all the time, what are we going to do with that property?
Well, I'm gonna go out and review it. Are they complaining that the value they think's low on it?
No, it's nothing like that. They don't own it. They're just residents driving around, and they see these properties that have been unoccupied for, well, maybe not, but they've been unoccupied for 10 years plus, and their own thing. Who do you think the number one property I hear about is?
I don't even know.
Sagebrush. The old Sagebrush property.
Oh, yeah,
in
I've heard,
Illinois.
yeah.
So the realtor just won't cut loose? What do you hear about that thing?
Well, no, it's as far as I know, it's the owner's just not found a person that wants to lease it, and it's not for sale, so.
Well, the building's not in any kind of condition.
Right, so I can only put the value on it as is condition.
Has it been reduced over the years?
For
To the best of your
2020?
memory?
Yeah, it's been reduced, and I've talked to city officials about it, and there's nothing,
They can do.
it would be in the planning and zoning, or,
Yeah,
zoning
that's a good
inspections. That's who would have to.
That just seems like a good commercial property we need to roll with, somebody needs to do something.
Well, maybe laws put on the books that would, limit idle properties or something. I don't know if that's even a possibility, because if it's my property, I'm going to do what I want to do.
That wasn't really a property assessor question. That's more of in your line of work, have you heard anything on that building?
Yeah, I have. I've heard, there's several around the county that I hear.
Yeah.
Usually people will question the value on a property, won't know what's on it, and they say, oh, well, you've got more than what I thought, or it's about what it should be.
Hey, I
hear that a lot.
I went to an event at a place called, I don't know, it's out by Norris Dam. It's a little bar and restaurant up there. What's that place called? You know what I'm talking about? It's wonderful. I've never been there.
The museum, or?
No. It's one of those brick buildings on the side where you go upstairs. It's been turned in like a visitor center, but it's been turned into a restaurant. And
Is it
upstairs,
Clinch River
downstairs.
Brewery?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, somebody purchased that about 5 years
Fantastic
ago.
place.
That was an old TVA fish hatchery. And
Yeah, that's right.
TVA lab building, and it had some offices in there, and the gentleman purchased that and converted it into
with it. It's
Clinch
nice.
River, Clinch River Brewery.
It's like you're in Gallenberg or somewhere.
Yeah, they got a really good business up there.
Oh, it's wonderful. Has there been a lot of growth in Norris?
Not so much as far as expansion. Several years ago they did the Butternut and up off of Deer Ridge and up in that area.
Right.
But as far as the rest of the city, there's been a lot of upgrades. The older homes and historical homes in the city of Norris have been purchased, and those values have just multiplied since I've even been in office.
It's hard to get in there.
Yeah, and they're selling for extremely high values versus what we have on them. But it's a popular city. I've heard it called the Mayberry of East Tennessee. It's children walk to school.
It's not Mayberry. It's more like, I get that part, but it's more like a Boston suburb. It's always called the other side of Oak Ridge. They have very similar kind of value systems, well-educated, different people. But you know, not farmers necessarily, but people that are really like Fontana Village or Gatlinburg or something like that. Just a real resort town.
Well, it was built. The city was built for,
TVA.
you know, by TVA for the workers for Norris, you know, Norris Dam, and a lot of your laborer workers lived out in the county. Those were for your
It's a beautiful
engineers
area,
and
too.
engineers and
That you can
people
tell by
like
the housing it was built for that. I mean,
right. And then so that's
and it
a lot
came
of-
up about the same time as Oak Ridge, about 8 or 10 years before.
right.
30s.
Well, they had to have the power from the dam to
build the valley.
come to the
Yeah,
Manhattan project.
if they hadn't had the dam, Groves would have run right past here and gone somewhere else. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
They needed that kind of help and that kind of
Well, I
stuff.
think they got the electrical power they needed for the Manhattan project and all that from the dam, from all
Yeah,
that.
yeah. When you look at the county as a whole, and you see, what about Claxton? I mean, I think Claxton, the expansion out there, you know, we worked on some grants out there, but that, you know, I see different things. Like you've got a new Weigels right there on Lafayette Drive, and you've seen some stuff out in Claxton. Seems like there's some good commercial development everywhere.
There's a lot of growth going on, a lot of residential. And these commercials, there's a few commercial expansions, but by far, I think residential's commanding that.
You know those apartments right before you go into go over Solway Bridge, huge set of apartments right there on
On the
Edgemore
right.
Road up there, up on the bank. How many apartments are up there roughly?
Oh, I think there's, well, I'd hate to
200 or
guess.
300?
I think 300.
That's a lot of
Yeah,
places.
it's, I just had the name of it on the tip of my tongue, but
Yeah.
it just sold for an extreme, a lot
Oh,
more
I
than
can
what we had on
imagine.
it.
Everybody's moving, yeah.
Everything's selling, and rent rates, that's what I'm saying, rents that was 1,200, it's now going 2,000, 2,400, 2,600.
Crazy.
It's a good investment if it's
That's all
what you're into.
Knoxvillians. Those Knoxvillians just go over the bridge and go to work.
Mm-hmm.
How about Hardin Valley? Have you been out there? I mean, that place is
Yeah, I drove
enormous.
through there last week, and it's,
we
on
go
the
out and
week-
eat
I was
there.
out there on the weekend just to drive down it.
I work up in the park up there, and I mean, I go out to Hardin Valley to eat. It's 4.8 miles. You know, it's like less than going to the side of Oak Ridge or Clinton or something.
Right.
So we get a lot of track. So there's a lot of growth. I think
Extreme
I guess what
growth.
I'm getting at is growth is pushing out of Knoxville into areas of Anderson County that is causing our overall property values to be more valuable.
Well,
and more
yeah,
stuff.
you got people that's coming from Knox County, and you got people though coming from Florida, Texas, California, up in the Northeast. There's a lot of diverse areas of the country's coming into East Tennessee.
How much foreign investment in Anderson County? We hear that all the time.
I don't know on.
Not too much.
Yeah, you've got. I don't know who all the backers are, but there's
Sure.
there's some groups, and I think.
Without going into whether they're, we can go into all the scenarios of whether they're Chinese or Iranian or all these kind of different people that form subchapters and buy stuff in different places in the South. I get that. My question is, what kinds of stuff are they buying?
Well, they're buying a lot of the single-family, 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes. I think Robertson County, Murfreesboro, they own 17,000 homes, 20,000 homes in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Same one?
Different ones. There's about 6 big players in it, big rental, rental companies. American Homes for Rent, I believe, is one of them. They're probably not American-owned. But they're coming in, and American real estate is a good investment.
Absolutely.
It always has been,
Yeah.
and it continues to be.
Yeah.
And with that, though, they're limited in the ability, like college-age kids coming out of college, to buy a home. The only thing that if they get it, they never sell it. They're renting it for $3,000, $3,200 a month, and that's their business model. If they can buy a 100 or 125 house subdivision, they buy it. They lease them all at $3,200, $3,000, $2,800, depending on the market in that particular area. But
Without selling.
they will not sell. They hadn't so far. There's studies done at Tennessee State University. I forget the professor's name. I've got that if you'd like to watch it. He's done a presentation on that it's like the American dream's being taken away. He said it's at this point it's not illegal, but what's it going to do to, say, local government, city and county, if that business model fails or something happens in the world that these foreign investors just drop what they've got in all these properties, then you're going to have an abundance of dwellings.
It's funny, I was watching the TV commercials, and I have a political background, obviously, and some other things, and I was watching, they've already started hitting Nikki Haley, because she's gone up in the polls substantially in the last month, and they're already hitting her for her ties to Chinese and
Right,
the
I saw
different
that.
things. You see that?
Yeah.
That was the amount of football games. That was pretty They go quick. We don't, you know, I would complain except I'm part of the problem. But,
Right.
I mean, they're,
Well,
you know, I mean,
there's Tennessee, there's some laws in the legislation that don't have anything to do with property assessment, but I've been watching it's limiting foreign ownership or limiting foreign owners from purchasing big tracts of property in the state of Tennessee.
yeah, I agree with
And
that.
that's not just here, that's South Dakota and a few other states around the world.
Well, I think that's part of it. But I don't think in Anderson County, when I drive around, we have a large problem.
Well, it can be on you before you know it. There's one deed came through in Loudoun County, and it had a multitude of owners, but in that deed it said this property is to never be sold to an American citizen.
What?
That's right. That was a deed that was recorded in Loudoun County, Tennessee.
I'd like to have a copy of that deed.
And so you got to be careful about how or there might need to be laws written that protect that.
And the people that were on that deed were not American citizens.
Most were not.
Most were not.
And it's like in these investment companies that's buying up a lot of the properties. They're not American citizens, maybe one or two at the top of the corporation, but they're mostly foreign investors.
Sure, they're getting their equity in here. Yeah.
We're buying a lot of things overseas or in
Like a real estate trust or something.
and then they're coming back in, it's called a REI, REIT, Real Estate Investment Trust. They're coming back in and buying up, I think foreign entities of one country bought over 500,000, over 500,000 acres in the Midwest last year. And
It's concerning.
it's very concerning at that rate. I
Nothing
mean,
against any individual country, but
no, and nobody in.
but that's not the maybe one. But but the bottom line is that, you know, if you've saved your money and you got the money to invest, the American system allows for that.
Right, but the American system probably needs to limit.
Yeah, they're better limiting us.
I don't know that I can go to another country and buy up all their land.
No, might not even be able to own anything.
And I don't know what needs to be changed to protect the American way of life.
And without being too political, that was always Donald Trump's point, was that why are we not playing by the same rules as they're playing by? We're importing, but we can't do this, but they're importing.
Why don't they
how do
play
you run a business like
us
that?
by playing by their rules, or why aren't they playing by ours? And I
That's
don't know
right.
that we've got enough.
Even the playing field, that's right. But there's a difference. Those people with all that money are the sellers, not the buyers. We're kind of owned by them in a sense because we're consumer driven on everything, credit card debt and everything. And when they have rules that constrict all that, we need to get more like that. I mean, we need to get more. We need to isolate a little bit more, I think, maybe.
I mean, I'm not against change.
I don't know if we can do it.
I'm not against change, but there's also something to be said about protecting the American way of life.
Absolutely. And
That's the way I see it.
yeah, well, I'm a conservative, probably. I agree. But the bottom line is that you got to change your laws a little bit. And you know, it's pretty easy. I did a lot of graduate studies in Chinese politics and stuff and different Middle Eastern stuff. And it's pretty simple. Those people save money. That culture saves money. And that's a great compliment to them. I admire them for that.
Right.
And when you have that much equity building and you're not spending it and you're not average $25,000 in debt and credit card, when you've got that kind of money and you can invest it, they're going to come.
Right.
And they're going to
Well,
invest
and
all
that's
the
like
way.
I said,
America's a good investment.
American real estate's it's the best, one of the best, I think, one of the best investments on the planet. So.
We're consumers.
Right.
To foreign countries, whether Europe or Eastern countries, we look like Disneyland. Everybody's buying it.
Well, I've got people coming here from California. They sold their house for $1.4 million. They owe, say, a couple of hundred. They come here with $1.2 million. They buy a $350,000, $400,000 house
Just
on
as
an
big
acre,
as what they own.
and they put $700,000 in the bank for retirement, and they absolutely love it.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't blame them. I like it here too.
One couple at a time I can live with. Don't care where they're from or who they are. It's when they come and buy up 1 million acres and do that kind of stuff around our country. It's a problem. And that has nothing to do with your office, but you know real estate, and I just wanted to share that. I hear concerns all the time on my show about different things, especially foreign relations and different things of that issue.
As long as their intentions are good, that's one thing.
Well, everybody's intention is to make money, but I mean,
Well,
as long as
right.
it's not to suppress our way of life. Like, no American citizen can own that. That's a little bit disturbing. Why would we have an open sense to that, et cetera, et cetera?
Right.
So 2024, sure, we got about a minute left.
Well,
What are you going to change over there? Anything going to happen?
Well, we're going to try to upgrade the mapping system this year, and we are revamping our website right now. But the bigger thing we're concentrating on in 2024 is to gather all the data
For 2025.
for 2025 reappraisal. We've got to make sure we got a fair and accurate appraisal reappraisal for all the people of Anderson
We got
County.
20 minutes. One question. How 20 seconds, I'm sorry. How much of the 25 appraisal was done in 24? How much of the actual
All
work?
of it. All the work.
For you, you're there. It's time to go.
It's time to, and we'll start in March.
Okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on, and I
Thank
appreciate
you.
everybody watching Between the Lines. John Allen.
I do too. Thank you very much.
Thank you for everything you've done.